All right, we're going to talk about sex today, and that's a topic that brings a lot of people into counseling. And this is going to be kind of a training for couples. It can be a training for couples counselors. It can be something that you watch premarital. And this is also the fourth session of our premarital counseling that we've been doing a series of. And so there's multiple uses for this. It'll have wide range of healthy applications, and hoping that you enjoy it. So in talking about sex, the first thing that I invite couples to do is to understand that sex means different things for different people. Does that make sense how I put that? Like, different people have different ideas about what it means, about and how important it is. They have different sex drives. Like, mixed sex drive is what brings most people to counseling after a few years of marriage, where one maybe is interested in sex 5 or 6 times a week, and the other one's 1 or 2, or even more drastically different than that. So what we want to do is talk about how to create rituals around sex, how to create some joy and some peace and satisfaction around sex. And so I want you to take a moment, and if you're doing premarital counseling, or if you're a therapist working with people and you just want this first assignment, the first assignment I give is, what does sex mean to you? And I'm going to take a moment and give you a chance to just maybe click pause and ponder this, maybe write down a paragraph or an answer to it, maybe a couple of sentences. Could even be a 10-page dissertation, whatever it is. All right, so now you've done some time and you've thought about what sex means to you. And I've heard so many answers. It's connecting, it's fun, recreational, it's sacred, it's intimate, and I've heard all the full gamut. Now, sometimes what gets in the way of a couple is having drastically different meanings about sex, or not understanding what it means to the other person. And so to have that goal at the very beginning of a relationship, the very beginning of your marital relationship, to have that goal of talking about what sex means. In fact, there's a research out there that says, this is amazing to me, that a 91% increase in sexual satisfaction happens when you're able to talk about mind-blowing sex. So if you're able to discuss things with your partner about sex, things that you enjoy, things that you want to enjoy, if you're able to talk about what your marital sex will look like, if you're able to talk about what your hopes and dreams are, what your vision of it is, it's a 91%. So it literally goes from 9% satisfied to 91% satisfied if you're able to just talk about it. So now imagine that. So people that talk about sex and talk about it frequently and put it on their agenda for their weekly couples counsel that we've talked about, they have 91% better sex than those of you that are quiet about sex. How many of you have kind of silently wondered what's on your partner's mind? How many of you have silently wondered if your partner's interested or not interested? How many of you don't know how your partner actually feels about sex because you've never really had a sit-down, I don't want to say serious, but a sit-down, purposeful, intentional conversation about sex? I know when I meet with people in my office that have really clear struggles with sex, they often don't really ever dare have a conversation about it. And that might be family of origin stuff. It might be stuff that comes from shame. It might be, but to sit down with each other and explore certain things. Now, prior to a marriage, there's some really important stuff, and some of it hardly any couple thinks about. But one of the first questions I'll ask the premarital group is, what will your first sexual encounter after marriage look like? Now, as terrible as this sounds, 34 years ago, I'm thinking to myself, my wife and I were married in the morning, and then we had a reception in the evening, and then we were heading out on our honeymoon. And in my mind, between our marriage, because we wanted to wait until marriage and to initiate sex with each other. And so I'm thinking, okay, we're married by 10:30 in the morning, the reception's at 6. There's all those hours in there that we can go have mind-blowing sex. Now, my wife was thinking, then wife, 10th, well, she's still my wife. I don't know why I said then wife, but the point is, she was thinking from 10:30 in the morning when we were done with the marriage ceremony, waiting for the 6 o'clock reception. She believed that was time for her to get ready for the reception and hang out with her sisters and get, I guess, makeup on and hair redone and her dress all smoothed out. I don't know. I don't understand what she wanted to do all those hours, but she had plans with family, wanted me involved and wanted me to hang out with our families and maybe do a family lunch together. I know she had all these weird plans, and I thought we would spend the time like in the back seat of a car. And so can you see how that would be a clash of a potential for me getting my feelings hurt or for her feeling like all I wanted was sex? And maybe she would be right. I have no idea. Point is we didn't talk about what the first marital sex would look like. I have another couple that was talking about they were driving to California for their honeymoon. And in his mind, halfway to California, they were going to stop and spend a night in a hotel just because it's a long drive from where they live to California, where they're going to the beach for their honeymoon. And he thought that one night in the hotel, they would start their sexual life there. And she wanted to wait until they got to their honeymoon and had a very relaxed, peaceful day together with lots of intimate touch, non-sexual touch and fun. And he thought, no, that first night, halfway through, we're tired from the drive, but we can still have sex. And so they clashed. And so to have that discussion of what's your fantasy of the first sexual connection after marriage. Now, I want you to think about that through the lens of it doesn't matter how sexual you've been before marriage. Doesn't matter what your goals and rules are around chastity. What matters is to be very clear that after the wedding ceremony, everything will change. And we want it to change for the better and then grow and grow and grow forever and ever. And that's what I'm hoping for all of you. I'm hoping that that can be your goal as well. So what does your first marital sex look like? The second thing I want you to explore is, are there things that you have hopes and dreams about exploring, and are there things that are just maybe off the table for you? And I want you to think about that for a second. I want you to think about what might be off the table and what might you want to explore. There's people that it's an absolute rule that they'll never have anal sex. There's people that are really kind of maybe not feeling like really good about oral sex. There's different sexual explorations that some people really want to engage in and seek and enjoy and see what's fun and what's not fun, what's peaceful, what's not peaceful. And there's things that some people just have maybe some boundaries for. And so really handy to just talk about some things that you would like to explore, some dreams you have, but also talk about some fears and also talk about some of the things that you just maybe based upon your values are off the table. And so that's a very important conversation to have. It's not a deal killer ever. It's more just, let's talk about where we can go and how much really clear exploration we can do. And let's talk about the few things that maybe we would prefer to not explore. And so I'm thinking that's just a big part of what will get your relationship off on the right foot. Now remember, couples that are able to talk about their exploration of sex have a 91% greater chance of a good sex life. And so it's not about the rules, yes or no. It's about whether or not you can explore it and talk about it and put it on the table and massage it around and see where you go with it. So one of the other things that we want to talk about today is in this process of, again, this is for everyone, but I'm talking to the premarital group, probably talking to all of you. What are some of the rituals that you've created or that you need to create or want to create around initiating sex? One of the complaints that come to my office frequently is one person in the relationship believes that at a relatively deep level that they always have to initiate sex. Now, those of you that are doing premarital counseling that have decided to not be sexual until marriage, and have operated in that fashion, which I've got some opinions on that I'll share later. I think that's a really good thing for you because it shows some restraint. It shows that you're able to have some really good self-control around intimacy. So the idea between who initiates sex and how you initiate sex and how you reject sex is super important within a relationship. And a lot of couples just kind of dance around it. They don't quite know how to initiate sex with your particular lover. You don't know how to say yes or no. And just some really clear rituals around it would really help. And it's always more healthy if a couple can have this clear, like mutual, we both are participating in initiating. Like sometimes she'll initiate, other times he'll initiate, and there's never this, I always just wait for him because I'm shy. It's always a how do we initiate and how do we decide what kind of role we take in that. One example that I like, a couple came and they said, we created a ritual. And I'm always curious in what couples' rituals are after I invite them to create one. And I want you to take a moment right now and maybe push pause and talk with your person that you're about to marry, or talk with your partner that you're in a relationship with, already married for many, many years, and maybe you're working on your sex together, and talk about what are the rituals you want to create about initiating sex, and how do you reject the initiating of sex without devastating or feeling like your partner is being rejected personally. All right, now that you've talked about initiating sex and some of the rituals around it, and how do you say yes or no to sex so that there's literally freedom on both sides of the table here. One couple I mentioned earlier, I didn't tell you their ritual, but one of their rituals is they just have a fun little scale of 1 to 10. 1 is no interest in sex, but I still am very attracted to you. And 10 is I'm super, super interested in sex. And so maybe there's some initiating of sex by he's kissing on her neck and she's responding with holding his hand and leaning in, and he goes, I'm about at an 8, and she goes, I'm at a 5, and 5 means I can be convinced, and so he kisses her neck more, and she goes, oh my gosh, I just hit a 10, and now they know that they're both, it was kind of playful, kind of fun, but it could also go, she's kissing on his neck, and he goes, I'm super tired. I'm about a 1 right now, and she immediately knows that it's just massage his temples, let him take a nap on her lap while she watches a show, or they go to bed and just take a good long sleep, because a 1 means you're just tired and really just need a good night's sleep, but still very attracted. So the key is to somehow create ritual around when I'm not in the mood for sex doesn't mean I'm not in the mood for you. And so those rituals and those cues that you give each other are super important. And so the idea about these rituals is you need to talk about them. You need to update them throughout your marriage. If you feel rejected personally, you need to bring that to the table. Many people around this issue need counseling because it's so difficult, because it's such a touchy subject. And so if you do need counseling, you're welcome to talk with us here at Ascend Counseling. We've got teletherapy, we've got coaching, we've got therapists, we got doctors. We can help with a range of things if you need some prescriptions for ED, or if you need whatever you need, we've got at Ascend Counseling, 435-688-1111, and there's a phone number down there by the subscribe button, so you're welcome to hit that subscribe button. And as you talk about the rituals of sex, as you explore sex, one of the things that you can share with your partner early on in the relationship, even in the engagement era for the premarital couples, is what is your sexual story? That is a very vulnerable, intimate thing to talk about, sharing your intimate story with each other. I want you to think about that. Have you shared your intimate story? Like, how did you learn about sex? Now, there's a lot of shame around some of us and how we learned about sex. There's those of us that have been abused when we were young sexually. The way we learned about sex would be very shame-filled and almost debasing and degrading and probably even painful. There could be a lot of guilt around maybe during the abuse you had a sexual arousal, and so you feel a lot of Like, did I invite that shame? And so all of that shame from your sexual story can be brought into the marital relationship unless you can talk about it openly with your partner and get clear with how they're feeling about you and about it, and having someone share with you that they accept you. You also could have learned about sex through pornography. You could have learned about sex through maybe a really healthy parental conversation that they explained healthy sex to you. There's so many different ways. But how cool would it be to talk with your partner that's going to spend the rest of your life being sexual with you about your hopes and dreams and about how you learned about sex and about where you want to explore? Maybe even talk about some of the shame that you have felt in your history about sex, if there is shame there. And imagine being able to do that and how intimate that would be. And I also mentioned that this is the person you're going to be sexual with for the rest of your life. See, there's fun sex, and then there's like really deep, intimate making love. Fun sex is sex that it's like a roller coaster. It's super fun. You don't have to work real hard for the fun because the roller coaster does it for you. You don't have to get real connected to the roller coaster to have all those giggly feelings in your stomach and that almost that orgasm that you have as during fun sex. But fun sex isn't something that is very deep or connecting or intimate. It's just sex. It's always liken that to roller coaster sex. Hot air balloon going around the world. See, that takes effort. That takes planning. That takes putting reserves in the bank, if you will. That's a lot of really healthy, good conversation has to go into a hot air balloon right around the world. Now, it's exciting. It is fun, but it's not like a roller coaster. Roller coaster, you just go pay the money, jump on. Pardon the pun. With hot air balloon sex, though, you have to have stuff in advance put into the process, and you get to explore the details of the journey and what the path looks like. And so if you can think about roller coasters just jumping on and going, hot air balloon sex is about intimate connection and about putting like really healthy work into your sex life. And so maybe that's a great way to make the difference of what kind of sex do you want. People talk about pornography. In fact, there's even some really, I think, stupid research out there right now that makes these claims that pornography can be good as a marital aid for couples. And I want you to, from my perspective, I'm inviting you to never believe that. I think that's a ridiculous thought. Pornography teaches one thing. It teaches that sex doesn't need a connection. It's quick, it's easy, it's always available. And it's about two people just, slapping body parts against each other. It objectifies people into like a body part. Like you have if you're a butt person, you find pornography around butts. If you're a breast person, you do the same thing. And so you're not really looking for a human being with parts and passions that you want to talk to. You're looking for a quick skip that can get to the roller coaster sex of fun. And I guess if that's all you want, pornography is a great way to go and learn how to do that. But if you want intimate, passionate, mind-blowing, connecting sex, you want to put effort into it. You want to go the exact opposite from objectification and pornographic sex. You want to go to real erotic sex, which is an investment in the relationship. And there's rituals for that. There's ways of having that. And some of the things that I strongly invite you to do, and I'm going to have you make a list. The list is like some things to do for your hot air balloon, really involved, clear sex life. So remember, the number one thing is to talk about it, to talk openly, talk a lot, talk weekly about your hopes and dreams. Put sex at the top of your list of things to talk about. Don't make sex that thing that you only talk about when you're a little upset or when you feel depleted or when you feel like you're denied. Talk about sex and talk about your passions and rituals and explorations. Talk about it weekly. Talk about it bi-weekly, nightly. Talk about it as often as you can, but please put it at the top of your list. Kiss each other a lot. Another thing to do for a healthy sex life is to kiss a lot. Now, couples that stop kissing have stopped being really intimate. You remember when you couldn't wait to give that first kiss goodnight? Remember all those dates you went on wondering if tonight's the night you're going to give her a kiss goodnight. are we to that place? Now, some of you on the roller coaster do that in 14 minutes. The rest of us really want to build up to it through a relationship. And that's what I invite you to do, is think through the lens of I'm building throughout the course of eternity a relationship. And so kiss passionately a lot. Exchange gifts that are romantic. Now remember, for one person, a gift is making you breakfast. For another person, a gift is a naughty note talking about a sex act that you want to explore. So make sure you understand each other's gifts and what's romantic for your partner and what you want to give as a gift. Remember, you might give your partner a gift that isn't really a gift to you, but it's when we give a gift, we give something we think they want, not something we want. Can you imagine if you only gave birthday gifts to people of things that you wished they gave you? I mean, I would have gave my wife a motorcycle last year for her birthday because I kind of wanted a motorcycle. The last thing my wife wants is a motorcycle. So if I give her a motorcycle for a gift, she knows that I'm really just buying myself a motorcycle. So give your partner, give your lover a gift that they consider a gift. Now, the only way you're going to know that is to talk with them about what do they consider a gift. And then be humble enough to give that to them. Remember, you've already talked about what's off the table. So if they really kind of think the gift is anal sex and anal sex is off the table for you, find out the 10 other gifts that they thoroughly enjoy and give them one of those. That way you can have those needs met for each other. Also question what's off the table. Dare to question why it's off the table, and does it really have to be off the table, or is there other options to put it on the table? Is there a safe way to get things on the table that have historically been off the table? Does that make sense? Know each other's turn-ons and turn-offs. Know what turns your partner on. Remember, it's not about your partner knowing what you want. It's about you knowing what your partner wants. And now, if both of you in premarital counseling is listening, you just got the big picture if you're both looking out for the other one's sexual needs. Show physical affection. Have fun, number 6. Remember, couples that have fun together have better hot air balloon sex. Couples that just get together and hook up, just get together and hook up. They don't need initiating any kind of passion or connection. It's just passion and hooking up. So my challenge to you is don't be a hookup partner. Don't ever accept that, because that cheapens sex. That makes it recreational. That takes it out of the realm of sacred. That puts it in the realm of we just do the surface sex. We don't really get the depth or the deep sex. And by the way, growing old together is the only way to get the ultimate, deepest sex. Changing partners and polyamory and all this other shenanigans that are going on, I understand there's times where you divorce. I get it. I get that divorce is sometimes mandatory. But just if you think changing partners is how to make sex more exciting, at some point you're off the market. At some point you just lose. And so I'm challenging you to not look through the lens of a new partner means better sex. Deepening the sex with your partner throughout old age is how you deepen sex. The best sex is a couple of 70, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds that are still passionately in love, cuddling, kissing passionately, giving each other gifts, and making love. So cuddle a lot, number 7 on your list, cuddle. Make sure you put time into cuddling. Don't jump straight to orgasm. If back in what sex means to you is an orgasm, you're doing it wrong. Orgasm's just a part of sex. It doesn't have to be the result of sex even. If orgasm's the goal and you don't orgasm, does that mean you failed at sex? No, it can still be mind-blowing without an orgasm. Now, orgasm's awesome, fun to be part of it. It deepens part of the experience. But is it the goal and then you're done? No, there's a lot before and after an orgasm. Put sex at the top of your list. We talked about that. Make sure it's not the last thing you think about. Number 9 on your list, I want you to put continue to be friends. Couples that are friends, couples that maintain that foundation of friendship. Now remember, hookup sex and people that just hook up with people don't have to be friends. They just have to be attracted. If you deepen the friendship throughout the course of your life with your lover, you will deepen the intimate connection, which will deepen the sex, which will make it more mind-blowing, more passionate. Talk to each other about your sex lives. Talk to each other frequently about it. Go out on dates with each other. Go out on dates, and during your date, explore fun sexual thoughts, topics, explore the friendship, explore how to deepen both. Take romantic vacations together. See, I get it's a budgeting issue. If you only have time or money for a vacation with family, do the family vacation. I get it. But try to carve out time every quarter for a couples vacation, a little couples retreat where you go and explore your bodies, where you explore your minds, where you explore the mind-blowing sex that you want to have, where you're able to talk openly. Maybe you call it a naked weekend, and you do that at least once a quarter, and you date every week. So you're having all of this time putting towards the intimate life with each other. And maybe the final thing on your list is learn to turn towards each other. Turning towards each other deepens the friendship. That means when you're struggling with something, don't go research the internet. Talk with your partner. When you're struggling with your sex life, talk with your partner. When you're struggling with the friendship, talk with your partner. When you have a fight, an argument, a complaint, all of that is super healthy. Engage in conflict by turning towards each other as a couple. Now, the idea about turning towards each other is you'll learn how to have a really clear connection. You'll learn how to have affection for each other. And it's also a foundation for a really healthy sex life. We'll have a whole session another time about turning towards, but it basically means no matter what's going on, you don't look outside of the marriage, you look inside to each other. And then together as a team, you go outside. Finally, I want to talk for a moment about what are the accelerators and the brakes in the relationship around sex. Learn each other's accelerators. What increases sexual drive and satisfaction and what decreases it? Think about things that turn your lover on. Now remember, I know what turns me on. I need to know what turns my lover on. So if you're thinking, well, I know what turns me on, I don't care. What I care is, do you know what turns him or her on? So your goal is to find out what is the sexual turn-ons and turn-offs and better understand those cues, better understand what works and what doesn't work. I thought slapping my wife's butt was a sexual turn-on because I like when she slaps my butt. She said that does not turn her on. In fact, that makes her think I'm being sarcastic and kind of crude. And so as we explore that, I learned that, she likes a great big bear hug and rubbing her back. I can even rub my hands down lower on her back and even really low. She just doesn't like to get swatted on the butt as she walks by. And she said she doesn't know anyone that does. I'm sure there's people that do, but that's definitely a break for her. It's like putting the brakes on. So you learn what your partner loves, learn what your partner doesn't love so much. Identify any build-up resentment in the relationship. If you have build-up resentment, it gets in the way of sex drive. So always get clear. Have those couples counsel meetings once a week. You premarital couples, start having couples counsel where you formally sit down, face each other, and talk about conflict. Dare to get into complaining to each other. Dare to bring up problems. Dare to get in the ring with each other and engage in conflict. Don't give up on each other during conflict and don't wuss out. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for your partner. Get into the mix with each other and solve problems. Implement those steps that we talked about. Learn about each other's brakes and accelerators. And if you get stuck on any of these things, I want to tell you the best tool is communication. If you can't communicate through your sex and through your sex drives and through your sexual exploration, please get professional help. This is one of the few marital issues that so many couples, because of shame and because of some of their past experiences, can't do alone, and they need a coach. I'm trained in this. You can come and see me. Call us at the number below and hit subscribe. My name's Dr. Matt Eschler. I'm your relationship coach. I can also be your sex coach, and we've got a full team of experts in 4 different counties here in Utah. We also have teletherapy that we can meet with people in many states. We're licensed all over the place. And so give us a yell, and we'll talk to you more later. Thank you so much.